Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing today? My name is Gavin Kerr, and I am here with the most wonderful, intelligent. Oh my God, he shapeshift. That was interesting. That was. They did it again. I've been bamboozled. Am I here with Brent? I'm here with the most wonderful B.
I love that.
Yeah.
There we go. The most wonderful B. How you doing, buddy?
The most wonderful B. I'm doing great. You know what that song kind of reminds me of now? It originally was the intro song was originally a spin-off of Money. That's what it's called, right? Money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, now for whatever reason this morning it reminded me of that scene in the Michael Bay redo of Ninja Turtles when they're coming up the elevator and they're just like clinging their weapons together and start beatboxing to get hyped up to go fight Shredder, and then they just jump out of the elevator all stoked because it adds one little bit at a time.
I get what you're saying. I'm trying to remember the scene. That's the part I was thinking. Oh, sorry. People like to annoy me by sending messages right when I go on air to be like, "Hey, are you available for a call?" Like, why text me that now when I just told you I'm on air? Like literally,
I get a bunch of people like throughout the show. I get people kind of text me. I like it sometimes because I feel like it's willpower now to not grab my phone and try to or be like sneaky about it and try to check the messages.
Oh,
like,
I can get that.
Can I resist?
Can I resist the temptation of not answering them? Well, it's someone that asked me for a job. They were like, "Hey, are you hiring for anything right now?" And I go, "Yeah, here. This is the job I'm doing, but I'm going live on air, so I can't talk right now." And what do? They literally respond right back, "Oh, I'm too busy." And I'm like, I hate people. Why? Like, don't ask me for something. Oh, my chair goes down. Don't ask for something, and then when we offer it, you turn around and you're like, "Oh, I'm busy, my bad." Like, I'm trying to help you, dumbass. Like, oh, I love people. All right, moving on before Brandon goes on a tangent.
You're good. Well, that reminds me of that was a big issue that we had in restaurants all the time, where you'd always want people who wanted overtime, but then they also wanted to call off a lot. They didn't want to come in.
They don't want to come in. They don't want to work because they're I don't want to say people don't want to work, but people are tired of people. I think that's the best way of describing it. When you're a waiter, you're a waitress, you're in the customer service industry.
Yeah.
You're not. I did it for years. You don't feel you're treated as a human. You feel you're just like there to be stepped on by people. And
sometimes
I can't.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
I literally, bro, I could tell you so many times I was the owner of a restaurant and people would be like trying to get something for free, having no idea because I'm serving, okay? And they're like, "I want to speak to the manager." And I'm like, "Okay, hold on. How can I help you?" And they're like,
I have fantasized about that moment so many times. That's part of the reason. It's not a huge reason, but it's definitely a little reason why I've always wanted to be a manager of something, just so that way I could be, because if I were to be in a management position, I would still be in the trenches. I would still be, serving, helping out and doing what everybody else does, just because that's how I am. I like to lead by example. And I've always wanted to have that customer yell at me and ask for the manager, be like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And look at one of my employees and go, "Hey, can you get the manager really quick?" Just so they can go, "Oh, you are the manager." I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Small restaurants, man. My favorite thing ever is after you do that, they go, "Well, I want to speak to the owner." Hold on. And it's like, then all of a sudden, I swear to God, this is how petty human beings are. The minute they realize I'm one of the partners in a restaurant or the head manager they have to talk to, all of a sudden, they're madly in love with me. And they're like, "Oh, hey, I actually am thinking of doing X, Y, and Z. And I want to plan an event with like people. And do you guys do sponsorship?" And it's like, you just tried to get a free meal out of me, tried to complain about me when you thought I was this little peon. Now you're like, "Oh, hey, you're going to be my best friend." I'm like, bite me. Like,
That's
for real.
actually that's a way that so I love dinner dates. I love like for a first or second date, I think taking somebody out to dinner is an absolutely wonderful way to get to know their personality because of how they treat the waiting staff and the people that work there.
I agree.
I've gone on some dates with some people who, physically they were beautiful. As a person, they seemed beautiful until we got to.
I'm so sorry. I read Brett's comment while drinking my coffee.
That, Brett.
Horror came out my nose. I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah,
sorry.
but physically they were beautiful. As a person, they seemed beautiful. And then we got to the restaurant, and they were just rude to the waiting staff. And I was like, "All right, well, we're not doing this again."
Yeah. I 100%. So I used to have, when I owned my restaurant downtown, I would literally have people who were friends with me who would be like, "Hey, I'm going on a first date. We're bringing them to your restaurant. Could you let me know your opinion?" And these are girls that live in downtown Cleveland. And they're like, "I'm going on a date. Just, you're my security, Brandon. Like, if you're getting a bad impression, let me know." There was so many douches, so many guys that the girl would buy, and the guy would buy or something, and then the guy wouldn't tip. Like, I'm talking the bill's maybe $20, and he wouldn't even leave $1. And I'm like, he's not worth it. And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, every human being is worth at least $1 of your time. They're serving you. You could put $1 down. And I hate to say it, but at least $1. Nobody really wants to work for $1. But at least give them something for their hard work. And I know I wasn't getting the tips even. But when you're that much of a scumbag that you can't give somebody who's working a tip, oh, dude, I laughed my ass off. I had so many girls that were like friends of mine that would be like, "Hey, so what'd you think of him?" I'm like, "He's a douche." And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." Go ahead.
In defense of giving some of these guys, not all of them, the benefit of the doubt, I think that there also could have been a lack of communication. Because I know sometimes I'll go out with people and I'll pay the bill and then they'll leave the tip. And so I want to say for at least one of those situations, I want to give one of those guys the benefit of the doubt, saying that they thought that their date would leave the tip and they did not. And that was a lack of communication.
And you know what? I'm going to give you that one. I will say that does happen because it's not every time. But I did laugh when they'd ask for my advice, ignore it. And I'm like, "That's fine. It's your life. Do you?" And then they'd come back 2 weeks later with another new guy. And they're like, "Hey, he's meeting me here. Can you tell me again?" I'm like, "What happened to the last guy?" I had one. No joke. True story, bro. I literally had a girl who, her name was Jessica Ice. And I always told her she was a superhero. Okay? Just because of the last name Ice, I pictured her freezing everybody. And she's cold-hearted. Dude, I told her.
Super suit.
Yeah, exactly. So her and I were good friends. And she brought this guy in. Dude, he's 5'1" with a Napoleon syndrome and a half. And he is like all angry at everybody, but he's a big wig. Go ahead.
One thing, Napoleon was not really short. They were just using a different, not at all. They were using a different measuring system to make him seem shorter than he really was.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
I think he was actually slightly above average height.
Really? I had no idea. I thought Napoleon was always short. Okay, so this guy's short, right?
Okay.
On their date, something in me just goes, he is bad. something in him is not good. I just felt it. You ever had that person around you where you're like, ugh, I kind of don't want to be around you right now, and I can't explain why other than I want to like punch you in the face. Like, and I can't explain why. Have you ever had that?
Yes and no. So I've had people where I don't think they're necessarily bad, but I just don't like them instinctively for whatever reason.
Okay.
And then I've had people where I don't think they're bad, and it's not that I don't like them, but I can tell that they are just either unnecessary drama, or they will, I'll probably get in trouble if I continue around them. And not like the fun trouble, but like actual like legal trouble. So I just
Really?
tend to avoid them. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I don't really look at people and I'm like, this is a bad dude. I'm like, you know what? I'm probably going to get in a fight with you at some points.
no, I don't.
You're just going to be obnoxious to me. Oh, the way you said it, I thought, ooh, he thinks he's evil because he's closer to hell. Like,
no, I can see why you think that. No, I'm meaning like the way he presented himself was better than thou, and everybody's below him, and he's like God's gift to women, and like
gotcha. Just sort of like an arrogant kind of attitude. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
An arrogant frick. You know, and I'm saving my F word. I need it today. So he's an arrogant frick. And I told her, I'm like, look, I can't explain it. Something in me says that he is just going to be something you're not going to want to be around later in life. Like he's going to be a problem for you. Your energies aren't going to mix. Now I feel much better. I'm going to say it's due to the Napoleon measuring system. Well played, Brett. Well played. And I'm like, I tell her that. And she's like, I don't know. We got along so great. I'm like, look, date whoever you want. I'm just telling you what I felt with him. Maybe he was one of those guys who just has an insecurity about himself and doesn't like other guys. You know what I mean? Like talking to his girls, whatever. So be it. Not even 2 days later, she called me and goes, so he was psycho. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, he cried after sex. And I'm like, okay. And I can't wait for John. John's going to be on soon. John's coming on today. We have John. I want to say his last name right, Saunders. John is a Wall Street executive, author, and coach of keynote speaker with a passion for helping others grow. He's a graduate from Georgetown, Alumni Advisory Council, an active angel investor and regular contributor to the Executive Masters in Business Administration mentorship program. Ian, don't worry, buddy. He's coming on soon. Thanks for shouting him out. We're excited to have John on today. So she calls me and she's like, he cried after sex. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. And then she goes, then he gets in the shower and all I can hear him doing is yelling at himself. And I'm like, wait, what?
That's the weird part. So the crying after sex thing, I would see that as some kind of like past trauma kind of thing. And like I would like, while I probably wouldn't be 100% comfortable with it, just because it's very extreme from what had happened previously. You know, you want to talk about it, try to like ease the situation stuff. The yelling at in the shower thing
at himself.
That I'm not digging. I'd be like, ooh.
She said,
I gotta go. It's your house, I know.
Dude, it was her house. That way she called me. She's like, I don't know how to get him to leave. And I'm like, oh God. And I laughed, but like he ended up leaving and everything. But yeah, man, like I've always had a unique way of crying after sex can simply be a hormonal release. Yeah. Jessica Dugas coming through with a hormonal comment. I love it.
Yep.
I just don't know what to go with that. I cry after I look in the mirror. No, I'm not reading the rest of that, Brett.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He literally started laughing before I finished reading it, which made me know I don't need to read the rest.
I could tell that you read it out loud before you read it in your head.
I did. I cry after, and then I saw the rest of it. Like, nope. So Gavin, yesterday you did trivia at Lucky's. Nope, that's not it. Teams.
Yeah, teams. Yeah.
How'd it go?
Overall, it went well. I'm gonna be honest. I did sports injuries, that was a category which nobody enjoyed. They got irritated because I kept screwing up the names. How would you pronounce Thome?
Tommy.
I pronounced it Thome.
Nope. Jim Thome. Thome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thought that I was following the basic laws of the English language, and I got crucified for it by the entire bar.
You should have. I'm not even being weird. Jim Thome is a Cleveland legend. He played for the Indians. He came back to retire an Indian. He is huge in this city. Messing up
Never
his
heard
name.
of him.
You've never heard of Jim Thome?
Never heard of him once.
He has a statue in front of the baseball field, in front of Progressive Field.
I don't even know where Progressive Field is.
Oh my God, Kevin!
I think I've seen it when I'm driving on the highway to go places that I enjoy. Like,
oh my gosh. So
I don't
Jim
watch sports, but
you're true. I get it. I get that. I get your logic behind it, but I'm gonna let you know, buddy. The bar that makes sense. Like you're in Cleveland. Look, if you would have messed up any other sports guy's name, anybody else's name, they might have let you go. Oh, I'm sure.
No, they didn't.
They didn't let you go. They had to have some fun picking on you.
The one lady was actually mad
that you didn't have the right name.
This one lady, I don't know who she was, in the back. She yells out, if you can't say it right, you shouldn't read the question. And I go, okay, miss. Well, you knew what I meant, didn't you? She goes, yeah, but still. I was like, all right, well, I'll take that in consideration the next time. She goes, thank you. I was like, all right, cool. And I just went back to my thing, doing my stuff. But overall, it went well. Other than like that, and like a couple other questions that the one was in the one like book name. It was a famous book that I never had to read, but the name was in German, and so that tripped me up a bit. Like I'm pretty good when it comes to like French or Spanish. I can usually work my way around those really well. But German is a language that I still struggle with. I haven't quite caught on with the basic rules to the language yet.
Really?
And so yeah.
Which is
my grandmother speaks German. She speaks it very well. I believe she's fluent, actually.
Did you know?
I just never went into it.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, you're good.
Did you know that it's illegal to run out of gas on the German Autobahn? If you run out of gas, it's a huge fine.
Really?
Yeah. Bet you didn't.
Is that their highway?
Yeah, that's it with no speed limit. So people fly, man. You go there.
Okay, that makes sense though.
Yeah, like you know when you're moving over, like you shift lanes, and then all of a sudden somebody's like all over your butt. And you're like, and you pick up speed to get on.
Yeah,
you know, like move faster. You better be watching in the German Autobahn. Like there's people who go there just to take their high-end cars and go as fast as they can and see what they could do on a highway legally. So did you know that it's illegal to hike naked in Switzerland?
No, I did not.
Well, would you go to Venice?
Yeah.
Did you know that if you feed pigeons in Venice, that it's illegal?
I wouldn't feed pigeons in general. I think they're disgusting birds.
Fine. All right. I got the weirdest law. Ready? In what country is it illegal to wear a Winnie the Pooh shirt?
Japan.
Do you want clues, or do you want to just go for it? Are you just going to go with Japan?
Yeah, I'll just go with Japan.
Okay. Brett, do you have an answer? Brett's shaking his head no in the back. Guys, if you have any guesses, what country is it illegal to wear Winnie the Pooh as a T-shirt? This is a real law in a country. If you need choices, let me know because I can easily give you choices. You say Japan. Gavin, while we're waiting for a few other answers, like Brett Gordon's answer and that, tell me, what are you grateful for today?
Today I am grateful for
I get it. That you can hike naked in Ohio?
No, you can't.
I know.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. People don't know what I'm talking about.
I know, that's why I bit my lip. I'm like, we can't tell that story yet.
Yeah. I'm grateful that I have the willpower to put on clothes. Like, so I'm gonna be honest with you. I woke up this morning, and most of the time I'll have like trouble getting out of bed. Like I just want to sleep all day. Today that was not the issue. I had trouble getting dressed. I got out of bed just fine. I was like, I don't want to put on clothes today. So I am grateful that I've had the willpower to do the basic things in life, like get out of bed and put on clothes.
To put on clothes. So
to be an actual human being or an actual adult.
You ready? We have Bangladesh and Pooland. I think he means Poland, but he's trying to have Winnie the Pooh go in there. You mean Pooland? He's shaking his head no in the background. I know. I'm going to give you a weird one. Did you know men must wear Speedos on French beaches?
Wait, say that again?
It is illegal for men to not wear Speedos. They have to be wearing a Speedo if they're going to go swimming on the beach. Speedos are on French beaches.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
It is illegal to ride a cow drunk while in Scotland, but you can ride a cow sober while in Scotland.
Ooh, I got a true or false for you.
Go ahead.
True or false? In Ireland, it is tradition, if you donate a pint of blood, they will give you a pint of Guinness to replace the iron.
Really?
True or false?
I'm going to say true, but you're going to be drunk faster. So I'm going to stick with true.
They're Irish.
That's true. I'm sticking with true.
Sticking with true. Let's see what the people in the comment section say.
Do you want to know what the funny thing is, Brett? Poland is the right answer.
Oh, is it really?
It really is. You're not allowed to wear Winnie the Pooh shirts in Poland. It does not have the reason why on this website, but it's the 50 weirdest laws in the world. Did you know that in Sri Lanka, you are not allowed to take a selfie with Buddha?
I don't even know where Sri Lanka is.
I don't have an answer for that one.
You can tell that we schooled in the States.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I found a weird one that doesn't make sense to me. Registering as married at a hotel makes you married in the state of North Carolina, apparently. Right? If you and I go to a hotel and we say we're married, we are registered as married in the state of North Carolina for them. Like, they think we're married. That's just one of their weird laws in North Carolina. Let's say a man and a woman
what state is it where you can still there's a state where you can still like fight people? It's like an old Western thing. Like, if let's say you and I had beef with each other, we could go out into the street. An officer would be there to act as the ref, and I'd say, "Do you want to fight?" And you would say, "Yes, I want to fight," and then we could fist fight right then and there to settle our difference.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the state, but there was. Do you remember that superhero? There was like a real life superhero that was around for a while. It was this dude in like this crazy like bulletproof suit that he had made. He spent like thousands of dollars on it. He knew like all these different kinds of like taekwondos and shit like that. And,
I don't.
Like martial arts. You don't know about? Oh my god! Let me see if I can find him really quick.
Okie dokie, smoky patoki. I'm gonna give you another one. Okie dokie, smoky patoki. Brett, I gotta go on.
By the way, the Guinness thing is true in Ireland.
So I was right. Guinness used to be my beer of choice. Still is my beer of choice when I make beer bread. Interesting. Brett will never go to North Carolina and share a hotel room with me. Throughout Alabama, it is illegal for a person to walk down the street with an ice cream cone in their back pocket. Oh, God. I'm sorry. That one hits me a little bit. What? You cannot walk around the state of Alabama. It is illegal for a person to walk down the street with an ice cream cone in their back pocket. Here's my question on that. How many people have been ticketed for putting an ice cream cone in their back pocket. And why did they need to make that actually a law? You know what I mean?
Here he is. His name is Phoenix Jones. This guy was an actual superhero. Like this was a real thing. He would walk around. He carried pepper spray and I think a taser on him, and he had like a camera crew, and he would go around. It was like Portland or something like that. Let me see if I can find, or let's see, Seattle. And he would stop crime, but then he has like a whole backstory too. Like somebody in his family died, like his parents or something like that, and so it encouraged him to start helping the world. And he's like has like UFC training and all kinds of crazy stuff, and he ended up somehow becoming a villain. He has like a whole backstory to him. Just Phoenix Jones. You gotta look into it. Yeah, it's like an actual comic book. It's insane. And I think he got arrested because he just ended up like abusing his power. And he was like, yeah, if you stay a hero long enough, you get to watch yourself become the villain. It's like an actual comic book in real life. It's insane. And he had copycats and people trying to be villains, and then people who were actually villains against him. It was weird.
I have no rebuttal. Like, I literally had no idea this existed. That is awesome. Jessica Dugas explained the ice cream thing. Back when most people got around on horseback, horse thieves would put ice cream in their back pockets to lure horses away without being charged with stealing. Honestly, I did same law in Georgia and Kentucky.
Interesting.
Right? And then Jacob says, wait, was just looking up why behind the Winnie the Pooh thing. Strange, right? Bro. Like, there's so many. I'm about to blow your minds, guys. You ready? In Russia, it is illegal to wear lacy undies. In 2014, a law in Russia and Kazakhstan states undergarments must be made with a minimum of 6% cotton. Why? They claim it is for the health and safety of men and women across the nation. Yep.
Interesting.
Thank you. It's illegal to dance after midnight in the dark in Japan.
Maybe that's like, do they have like a big like construction or pothole issue there? Like people falling and things?
In parts of France, though, you cannot die without already having a pre-purchased burial plot. It's illegal to die without a pre-burial plot.
The hell again? Are they going to arrest you? Do they fine your family? Like,
I have no idea.
What is the repercussions of that? You're dead.
It's literally.
They spit on your name? Like,
I have no idea, man. I'm not going to France, though. I'm looking for another really good one. It is illegal to reincarnate without permission in China.
Oh my God! You had to get permission to reincarnate?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, assuming that reincarnation is real, could you imagine if you were just hated by everyone in your family, except for the one like niece or nephew that you were super nice to, that is completely naive to the situation, and they give you permission to reincarnate, and you come back and then terrorize the rest of your family for not giving you permission?
Right. It is illegal to kill Bigfoot in Canada. Just in case you didn't know. It is, oh my gosh. All right, I am never going to Portugal.
He'd be an endangered species. It should be illegal to kill him anywhere.
I agree. I have to break it to you. We're never going to Portugal. It is illegal to pee in the ocean in Portugal. We're not sure.
How would they know?
That's right. Literally what it says after. It's one sentence after it. It's we again. Not quite sure how to prove this one, but it's better just to be safe and use the restroom like a civilized human being. What was that? That was a bit. I heard somebody. Gavin, I can't hear you, homie. You went out.
They put a phone call from New Jersey, and I'm sure that one wasn't important. It was really impressive. But
they put blue dye in. No, that's funny. I would agree with that though.
One second, I got to try to reconnect.
I have such a big echo there. I would agree with that, though. That's BS government outreach, in her opinion. I agree, Jessica Dugas. I'll do 2 more really good ones, and from there, this one is going to be upsetting. You ready? Women in Bolivia can only have 1 glass of wine when in public. I lost everybody. It's just me. Hello, it's Brandon alone again. I'm looking at my friends. They're hiding in the back. But don't you all worry. That's why I pre-drink before going out. While we wait for Gavin, I'm bringing Brett Gordon in. Brett, what do you think about being illegal to disrupt a wedding in Australia? If you disrupt the wedding, you could get a ticket. Right? Hold on, I got a better one. You ready? In Florida, men are not allowed to wear strapless gowns.
Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to put on my formal one with arms and wear that. I guess I can't bring my strapless with me. I'll bring my strap on.
That's what I was talking about.
I got one. You guys ready? I got a good one. What state? Yeah. It's a United States state. What state is it illegal for the chicken to cross the road?
Kentucky.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Jessica Dugas, do you have a guess? Because I think you're gonna be the one to know this one.
Well, Jessica Dugas is guessing. I'm going to finish my little thing here. So I wouldn't want to pee in the ocean. Like when I was in Belize and we were swimming around for 6 hours a day in the ocean, I was always terrified to pee because, in my mind, the way I go pee is I take part of my pants down and I go pee. Well, we're snorkeling. And so 1, I didn't want to swim in it. But then 2, I also saw an episode of River Monsters or something like that, where a gentleman was urinating in a stream and a fish swam into his urethra. And so the whole time, So because it was warm and that's what the fish was attracted to. So this whole time.
Not wearing a bathing suit?
No, he stood up, he took his stuff out and he starts peeing. And so I'm swimming like this, and I'm looking around to make sure that none of the other snorkelers are watching me, and then because I don't want them to see me, and then 2, I keep looking down, like watching to see, like, oh, do I gotta like karate chop something out of the way or something? So it was, and then everybody laughed at me because after a while I got so freaked out. I'm like, how are you guys peeing? And they all look and start giggling. They're like, we just do it. Like, what do you mean you just do it? Like, we're in the water already. It washes out.
You know what? Nobody's gotten this answer right yet. I'm going to make this happen. You ready? Miss Christina, I see you in the background there. I'm going to bring you in, and you tell me what state in the United States is it illegal for you to have your chicken cross the road?
Oh, man. I feel like I've heard this. Ooh, I think it's somewhere in the South. Yeah. Ooh, okay. I'm just going to not overthink it. Alabama?
You are really close. Georgia.
Okay.
Very good.
I live in the South, and I've lived in the South for a while. And they have some weird rules.
So this started with Gavin and I a couple days ago. We were talking about weird laws. And I told him, did you know that it is illegal for men to wear freshly shined shoes in the city of Cleveland? Like leather shined shoes.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah, they never changed the law again.
Yeah, they never went back on it. So you get your shoes shined. You get a ticket. It's because men back in the day were having their shoes shined and then using their shoe to look up women's dress. So it was against the law to have freshly shined leather shoes. Thank you.
Dude, men will go to any length to be fucking creeps. What the heck?
Yeah.
Not all men, but
not all men, but oh my.
Enough where they had to make it a law.
Right?
In all honesty, if I came across 2 people, if I was a cop and I came across 2 people doing that, I'd be like, all right, Judge, we need to do something. I've had multiple people do this now. I wouldn't tell them how many. I'd just be like, we've had multiple people do this. This needs to be taken care of really quick.
I mean, here's the thing, though. How shiny are those shoes?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was my question together.
And here's the other thing. Like, how close are you to that girl? Are you, like, standing under her, like, putting your foot under her skirt? I don't understand the logistics here.
You're on the same page as us.
Just very shiny athletic shoes. Just pardon me, miss. Gotta have a stretch right here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm picturing. Christina, do you have any weird laws that you've heard in place that you know of?
Trying to think. I mean, I guess it's not that weird. I forget where it is. It may be Virginia, but you can't spit like on the sidewalk. But I guess that's not that weird. I mean, but you can get ticketed for it, which, I mean, that seems.
I think that's more of a courtesy thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. But
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I used to have a bad habit of spitting, and I always try to get it in the grass if it was anywhere near. Like I hate to spit on the sidewalk because I never wanted to step in anyone else's spit.
So, did you guys know that it is illegal to eat a human person in Idaho? You will get 14 years in prison.
Okay,
people don't realize cannibalism isn't illegal. Murder is. But like Brandon, if I gave you permission to eat me when I die, you have every right to go ahead and cook me up, season me, and put me in your belly.
Okay, here's a really funny one. A couple funny. I looked up just the state that I live. Tickle a woman. Men, however, can be tickled. Hurt any animal other than a raccoon on a Sunday. If you're going to hunt a raccoon on a Sunday, you must do it by 2 a.m. Oh, here's two great ones.
Wait, say that one again. Say that one again, because I heard it, and I want to make sure I know where I'm going with this one.
Yeah. Hunt any animal other than a raccoon on a Sunday. If you are going to hunt a raccoon on a Sunday, however, you must do so by 2 a.m.
So you get 2 hours to hunt this raccoon on Sunday. So you got to stay up Saturday night.
Yeah.
And as soon as it's midnight, it's like, all right, game on.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm
flabbergasted. That's a great law and a weird one all at once. Thank you for that.
This one's great. I'll give you two more. Have sex with the lights on. How in the hell is anybody knowing this? But have sex outside of marriage, and this is punishable as a class 4 misdemeanor.
Wow.
Okay.
Jessica Dugas threw one in here.
A lot of
and then
teenage felons there.
You ready? Putting salt on railroad tracks can be punishable by death in the state of Alabama.
Oh my God.
Jacob says there are some weird whaling blue laws. Like you cannot harpoon a whale from a moving car. First
I believe that's in Tennessee.
Maybe that could be.
Which is weird because I don't believe Tennessee is connected to an ocean.
It's not, and that's why my mind went like, wait, that can't work. Like, how are you going to harpoon from your car a whale in Tennessee? That doesn't make sense. Like, you're going to have to have.
Isn't it Ohio? There's like a law against whaling.
I have no idea.
I mean,
I'm almost positive there is.
Can we address that these people were high or drunk or both when they did these laws? Like,
oh no, they most definitely were drunk at the very least.
Did you know that in Alabama,
fathers were plastered all the time?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Have you ever watched Drunk History?
I love Drunk History.
It's so funny how serious and true everything in there is.
Yeah.
Everything on that one is like, oh my God. In Alabama, it is illegal to toss plastic confetti.
I mean, that's not horrible. That goes along the lines more of like environmentalism, but still, oh my God. I mean,
yes.
Okay.
In Ohio, it is illegal to fish for whales on Sunday.
What?
Yeah. So this was somehow, some way, there was at least one whale in the Great Lakes in Lake Erie.
Yeah.
I think somebody like put a whale there.
How would it survive?
I mean, it's a mammal, so it could breathe oxygen. I know it's not salt water, but
how would it get there?
It would survive for a bit. I'm not sure. I don't know how it got there.
I don't know why we're asking Gavin as if he's supposed to know.
Yeah, that's a thing that people like. I figured this out last night at Carrie or at trivia because I was asking questions and people were getting mad at me for the situations of the questions. Like I was the one who did it. Like the sports injury ones. This one lady was so pissed off every time I read a question. She's like, "I can't believe we pay these people all this money and stuff, and they're so dumb." I'm like, "I'll take it up with the NFL next time I have them on the phone, miss."
That's so funny. All right, let's think about this from a different perspective, though, right? I know that it's politicians that made these, right, or whatever, but someone had to be stupid enough to do something like this, right? I mean, unless they're just like making up these laws willy-nilly, I don't know.
No, there's definitely a reason for these laws.
That's what I'm saying. Like someone somewhere, like someone somewhere caught a whale in Ohio on a Sunday or on a Saturday. I mean, I don't know.
Well, like I can't hunt whales at a whaling wall. Ha ha. I want to know who took their lion in the state of Maryland to a movie theater.
Yeah,
like
someone did it. That's a great. I mean, I'm glad she pointed it out because that someone did that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a guy who was walking. He got arrested for walking his pet hyena on Myrtle Beach in like 2007 or something like that. He had a pet hyena that he was walking on Myrtle Beach, and he got arrested. Yeah.
Because there's those assholes that are like, okay, well, there's not a law, so I can do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, why not? Hyenas are weird animals. That's a hell of a pet. Just because if you don't know anything about them, like they're extremely, extremely family and pack oriented.
Okay.
So if you were to make a bond with a hyena, somehow, some way, it would be a for life bond, complete trust kind of thing.
Okay. Wow.
That being said, they kill almost anything that moves, and their bite is made to crush bone like it's nothing.
Okay.
So they also are like the only animal with more stamina than humans. That's how they kill their prey. They just outrun it.
So, but I could take a hyena to a movie theater, but not a lion.
I don't think there's a law against it, so yeah.
Oh my god!
I think this is funny because this was going to be the last one I did, and then I was going to get into your book, Christina.
Yeah.
But like,
well, this is awesome.
This is we were having fun with this. Gavin and I were doing birthdays, like we were throwing. All right, so ready? I'm going to ask you, how old is Betty White?
97.
Close. 99.
Okay, I was going to say that. Damn it. Yeah.
Her birthday for Betty White turning 100 is January 17th.
Yes.
Aww.
So 1922.
Yep. So Gavin and I have set a goal to have Betty White's 100th birthday on the show.
I love that.
We don't know if we're going to be able to make it, but I think that's something that would be absolutely hysterically awesome. 100 years old, and it's Betty White. She is the most uplifting, encouraging. She is the golden of Golden Girls.
She really is.
Jacob found this one, and he says it, and I laughed because this was literally going to be my last one. Did you know that it is against the law to push a live moose out of an airplane while in flight?
I don't think that should be a law.
Way to end this segment. What the heck?
I don't think that should be a law because if you know how big a moose is, I think if you were capable of pushing a goddamn moose out of a flying plane, that moose deserves to die. Call me mean, call me an ass, whatever. That is natural selection right there. If you're able to manhandle a moose,
I hate to agree with you on this. It'd be like pushing a bear out the window. Like you could push.
Wait, maybe I'm too.
Moose are bigger than bears.
Why am I too logical a person? You guys aren't thinking about how did the moose get through security to get onto the plane? Like,
what kind of plane are you thinking about?
Wait.
This isn't American Airlines. Like what?
It's Alaska. So I'm picturing the moose just walking. And it gets on the plane, and all of a sudden they're flying. They're like, why do we have an extra 400 pounds? And then they are like, all right, Gavin, go get rid of him. Like, that's what
I was thinking. Like some kind of like huge carrier or something like that. Not like a commercial flight.
That's what I'm
bought
thinking.
a ticket.
Okay,
like BoJack Horseman. You just have like human people, animal people buying tickets.
Okay, you guys are smarter than me. But I was thinking a commercial plane for some reason, which is funnier.
No,
Do you know what the natural predator of a moose is?
No.
But like number one, the number one natural predator of a moose is a killer whale.
Really?
It's an orca.
Because they swim out so far.
Yep, they swim out so far and they dive down. They're extremely good swimmers to get seaweed, and orcas come and eat them. And they're so big that's like one of the only animals that will really mess with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
So there's a couple questions for you here, Christina. Were you picturing Rocky and Bullwinkle when you were
I think
picturing
so. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. So this is funny and kind of weird, but my dad used to call me Bullwinkle. It was like my childhood nickname. So I know, weird but cute. And so I used to watch it. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Thank you.
Was there a reason for that nickname?
I don't know. I mean, why would you call a little girl that? Who knows? But I mean,
I know if you had like a personality trait or something interesting like that going on.
Yeah.
My dad calls my sister Bullwinkle. And
Are you serious?
Actually, dead serious. That's why when you said it, I laughed. I was like, yeah. They actually have pins where my sister wears a Bullwinkle win and my dad wears Rocky. And then this was something we use on Fridays. Bob Bob Seymour is riding his motorcycle, which he's named Bullwinkle. No, Rocky. He's named his motorcycle Rocky and his trailer that's on the back Bullwinkle because they're always together. Right. And he's spreading positivity across the country.
I love it.
And I think it's hilarious.
You guys had much nicer nicknames as kids than I did. My dad called me Slow Kid and Turbo.
Oh my God.
Slow and Turbo? So what are you, like a snail with a jetpack?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure you've seen me work a bit. I like to move fast paced and stuff, but I was also extremely clumsy as a little kid. I'm still am now and again. Not nearly as bad. I've gotten my coordination down a lot better, but I would try to do things really fast, and I'd either break something or hurt myself or just screw something up and go, nice job, Turbo. Yeah. Which, like, at the time hurt, but then, like, after a bit, because he ended up, like, he would sit down and talk with me. He'd be like, why I do these things? It's not because, like, I hate you or trying to be mean or anything like that. It's because when you go to school, like, I know you're a smaller kid. You got a lot of life to you. You're very charismatic. You're very friendly. I don't want you to get picked on and not know how to handle it.
That's fair.
And for some people, that doesn't work at all. For some people, that definitely does not work. I would not recommend that as your go-to parenting style. But for me, it clicked.
Yeah.
For me, in my head, that made sense. Yeah. And I was able to take that and turn that energy into something positive. And because of that, now when I have things like last night, when I get heckled, when I'm doing a show and I screw something up, it doesn't bother me in the slightest bit. I know it doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I love it.
So, Christina, we haven't seen you in a little bit. We missed the hell out of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Tell us what you've been up to. We kind of ate into your segment a little bit here, but
this is fantastic. I mean, honestly, Brene Brown doesn't really hold a candle to this conversation. How do we transition into vulnerability and like authenticity and all of that?
One of the first laws we read about was you're not allowed to hike naked in the Switzerland. So being vulnerable is hiking naked around the metro parks in the United States. Using that as my pivot to get back around to Brene Brown.
That's so funny. I just sent my husband an article from the New York Times, and I didn't read the whole thing, but there's like certain states where you're allowed to garden naked in your front yard or your yard.
You are or you're not?
He doesn't want to do that, by the way. I should have prefaced that, but he likes to garden, and we were laughing, because.
What states are you allowed to garden naked in? Now I need to know.
No, I need to find the article, but.
All right, so by the end of the show, Christina's going to send us the article where everybody is allowed to garden naked, and we want appropriate pictures I can put on air of everybody gardening naked, okay? Appropriate pictures. Hold an eggplant in front, hold your cantaloupes, whatever you need to do.
Have you seen Steve-O and his fiance's naked pictures?
Oh, I love Steve-O.
Steve-O from Jackass. Him and his girl, they take it's actually like art. They're really, really well done. These awesome pictures of them. They're completely naked, but they're holding each other in different ways where everything's covered up, or they're in like these like positions where it's art essentially. It's really awesome. He actually just did a huge sale for like his most epic naked art piece, where they were like hanging like off the side of a window or something crazy like that, and they sold it and donated a whole bunch of it to charity.
I love him. I have to be honest.
Oh my God, I needed to. Okay, so I just
all yours. Go.
I googled it really quick, and so National World Naked Gardening Days was May 6th, and apparently, so Virginia Beach, where I live close to there. You can do it there, so that's great to know. Boston, Massachusetts, New Orleans, Miami, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, San Antonio, Dallas, Oklahoma City. Yeah. It's a lot in the South, which makes sense. There's a lot in Texas.
Honestly,
I like how you kept saying that's it and then adding on more cities.
I kept scrolling.
All right, this is my favorite joke of the day so far. I'm sorry, guys. Jay Bird, you nailed this one. When we're talking about naked gardening, and he goes, that would be a new Veggie Tales. Does anybody know what Veggie Tales is other than me?
Yes, I grew up with Veggie Tales.
I do know what VeggieTales are, but I never watched it as a kid, so I had no idea that it was like a religious thing until I was probably 19 or 20.
I could sing the entire song. Like, I grew up watching VeggieTales, so that's hilarious. So, Christina, you have like 8 minutes left of your segment today.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. I mean, honestly, here's the thing. Sometimes it is really good to play and have fun. I've been listening to, I love sharing stuff, but like one of my other favorite writers besides Brene Brown is Glennon Doyle. And she just started a podcast called We Can Do Hard Things. And yes, I bring it up because yesterday's episode was all on fun and just like talking and having fun and laughing for the hell of it. Because, we are in a culture obsessed with like productivity and getting things done, So, where's my hairbrush? I was going to bust that out, but I didn't want to be strange. But yes, where's my hairbrush?
Where's my hairbrush? Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. So so I just love this conversation because it couldn't have come at a better time because they were just talking about like just not doing things to achieve something and laughing and having silly conversations and dancing to music and stuff. So this is awesome because I just listened to that and I was like, oh, what do I do for fun? That's not like, trying to grow or because I'm always trying to grow and learn. And I'm sure you guys relate to that.
So absolutely. I think that's a really important question too that people need to ask themselves and each other. I think that we as a society kind of need to push that a little more on each other. What do we do in our free time? What do we do for fun? Like especially anytime that I'm meeting somebody new and I think that they're going to be a possible love interest, I'll ask them, okay, what do you do in your free time? What do you do for fun? Because to me, it's attractive. Somebody who has a lot of hobbies, has a lot of interests, because that shows me that mentally they have something to grab onto when they're feeling down. They have something that keeps them motivated, something that keeps them productive. I see drive when I hear people who have, they go to the gym and they cook and they enjoy like crochet or something weird like that. Like they have a passion. But then you find people who don't have anything. And then when they get down, it's really hard to help pick them back up and for them to pick themselves back up. Because they have nothing to do. They just kind of sit there and just marinate in it.
Exactly. And they talked about that. They were saying like a lot of times moms have this problem because they've lived their lives for their husbands and their children. And so when they have time for themselves, they're like, what do I even like? So
midlife crisis.
So actually, I think that's funny because this morning I felt on my heart that I wanted to write on the Delight page, how do you self-love? And I didn't because I thought of people like Brett writing inappropriate things as a response. But the truth is, I felt like there needs to be that conversation more.
I think
because I think having these, like you said today, this was a fun, just random laws all over the world that we learned about and how funny they were. And we all thought that too. Like I am going to go to Alabama right now. And when I go visit the Dugas family, I'm going to have ice cream in my back pocket and see what happens the entire time. But it has to be an ice cream cone from what the law said. So this is going to be interesting to me. But it's about self-love, like you said, having good conversations, having hobbies.
Yeah.
Christina, since today has been such a unique one, and we've had so much fun with you, and I know you're getting ready to do book club again soon. You're going to be doing chapter 5.
Yep.
Do me a favor. Tell us how Christina self-loves.
I love that. It's funny, I was going to bring it up. Improv, I just joined that improv class because they're always doing a class like running or like boxing to get healthier, blah, 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 all the things. Yeah. And I just started realizing that, like, my husband laughs at me because before I go to bed, I'm like reading like how to heal from childhood trauma and like all this stuff all the time. And I'm listening to podcasts on how to grow and like listening to news. And so he's like, what do you do for fun? Like, you need something that's just for you. So I signed up for an improv class and I was like, I'm not trying to get better, it's nice to have goals, but I went into it just like have fun. So I started doing that. I started improv, and then going so fun. And then I just started doing comedy, like going to the comedy shows locally, just like super fun improv stuff.
Are you doing the stand up or are you just watching?
I'm just watching. So I did my first show, and then I have to sign up for the second class, but I loved it. It was just for the hell of it. And it was just so freeing because it was like, I got out of my head, didn't care what other people thought of me, and just did it.
I love that. Gavin is about improv as well. He likes to have fun and like get up and do comedy. Yeah. So what was your biggest fear stepping into the improv? Because this is something new for you. This was self-love for you. And then all of a sudden you're in front of people. That could be scary, intimidating.
It totally, it goes 100% into vulnerability, which, this whole book's Darren Greatly's on. But nobody laughing. That was like my big, like, what if I get up or do something ridiculous and nobody laughs? But you know what? It didn't happen because the way I was taught, the first rule of improv is to make your partner look good. And so, and so like, even if it was awkward or I looked like I was floundering, there was someone that had my back and would jump in and take over, so it wasn't about me. Like, it was never like focused on me. So, but and then I prepared myself that even if that did happen, so what? Like, I lived through it, you know what I mean? And it's one moment no one's going to remember. It doesn't decrease my worth or my talent. Like, it happens. It's happened to the best comedians. You always hear about comedians talk about how they tanked. I feel like most famous comedians tank way more in the beginning than they ever do well. I could be wrong, but I feel like I've heard that some famous ones say that.
That's why they actually go to smaller clubs to try out new material. They tank all the time.
Yeah.
Like, even now when they're big, they go and they tank.
Yeah.
If you could have coffee with one comedian to learn from, who would it be?
I love that. Probably Joe Rogan. I listen to his podcast, and I know he's pretty mainstream, but I like Joe. He can be controversial. People have talked about him being canceled, but I like him. I know. Everyone's canceled nowadays.
Why?
I don't know.
Have you heard his early comedy? He says some crazy stuff.
Yeah, he does.
I could understand why people would be offended and want him canceled, but at the same time, that would never happen, in all honesty.
I would say, no. Or like Tiffany Haddish. I think she's funny.
I love Tiffany Haddish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's funny. Kevin Hart, maybe. So I'm supposed to say one, but okay, maybe I would bump it up to either Kevin Hart or Tiffany Haddish, just because
I would say either Bill Burr or John Mulaney. They are both phenomenal storytellers.
Yeah. That is a good one.
If I had to pick a comedian to sit down with, that's a tough question for myself even. Yeah. Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great one.
Honestly, I grew up with it. The blind black white supremacist is one of the funniest things on TV. See, I was going alive, but this would have been my number one pick. Robin Williams, hands down. Yeah. I would want to sit down with Robin Williams, and if I could have a coffee with him, I have a feeling him and I would never leave because I would like cling on to him. Like, I'd be like, I am your new shadow. Call me Brandon. Tom Green is great at stand-up. And then, all right, ready? For the last thing of the day, before we have Christina move on and we have John come on, I have one more good law, and it's out of Alabama. So Don't impersonate a member of the clergy. Jail time or a $500 fine in the state of Alabama. Guess what? I'm going to Alabama now for Halloween, and I'm dressing up like a clergy member. And we're going to see what happens, guys. Oh, that's funny. Christina, let everybody know that you're going to be doing your next chapter so people can join in, because you're going to be doing it live. And I love how you're getting people excited for this. And this was such a good conversation today.
Absolutely. This is super fun. So I'll be live, I think like 12:15 today. So that way you can, like you said, take a break and then just send me the link, and I'll be going live on chapter 5. And she's talking about culture, which is super interesting. She defines it as, I love this, how we do things around here. So talking about culture and culture of your home, culture of where you live, your workplace. So
I love that. Chappelle is honestly the best stand-up comedian of our time. He will be remembered as one of the greats. Tom Green, not so much. I don't know. I think that's up to the person who's watching. Tom Green has had some huge crowds, but Dave Chappelle can disappear, come back, and make us all laugh. Christina, we will see you in a little bit today, and I look forward to chapter 5. Gavin and I should be joining you later today. And just in case you don't know who our guest is today, you might want to stick around behind the scenes or in the comments. The ever-curious Wall Street executive turned author, coach, and keynote speaker with a passion for helping others grow, John Saunders has spent more than 2 decades as a Wall Street senior vice president, sales team leader, and award-winning sales executive. He followed his passion for helping others grow and founded a coaching and consulting company, Forward Advisory Solutions. Saunders is an author, a member of the Georgetown too many M's all of a sudden in front of me. The Georgetown MBA Alumni Advisory Council, so Masters in Business Administration Council, an active angel investor and regular contributor to the Executive MBA mentorship program. Christina, it's been great to have you. We're gonna have John come on now. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your comments together. I always want to say hands there. Put your comments together and introduce John Saunders. Hello, John. How are you, sir?
How you doing?
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Doing great. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
No, we're grateful to have you here. You had actually some of the first comments. Ian, one of your friends, Ian Roach, was like, I can't wait for John. So you already have people coming on ready for you today. So I'm excited you're here.
I appreciate that. Ian is an old friend. He lives in the great city of Cleveland.
Whereabouts?
Somewhere on the east side.
I'm east side, he's west side. That's perfect. Ian, let us know after the show. We'd love to be able to catch up and get to know more people that are watching and have good people like John in their life. All right, John, I have questions galore for you. So let's get started right off the bat. What is the difference between an angel investor and an incubator?
So an angel investor is a person that invests very early in a startup company.
Okay.
So you may be pre-revenue, for example, the company may be in the pre-revenue stage when you're investing in them. An incubator is more of an organization that's helped guiding and coaching typically a group of startup companies to get off the ground. So an incubator, sort of like think about an egg incubator or something like this, it helps them grow and get started. An angel investor is the one who actually comes in and gives them a few dollars to make the operations happen.
How do you determine, though, like what you're looking for in an investment? Like being an angel investor, Gavin could be a guy looking for an angel investor. How would he be able to get in touch with someone to know and get their attention?
The way I've done it primarily is through a group. So my business school has a group. It's an angel network. So a lot of different, I'll call them affinity groups, schools have these. So typically it's alumni or alumni associated with the startup they find that organization through the school, and then we have quarterly pitch days. So we get several dozen applicants with, hey, I've got this great story to tell. Here's where I am with my company. Here's the money I've made. Here's my team, this kind of thing. And then we have a screening process we put them through. We have a due diligence team. And then they come and actually have a pitch day on Zoom, not unlike this here. And everyone gets to pepper them with questions. And we have some follow-up calls. And then if people like it, they can choose to invest or not.
So what exactly are you doing in the stock market? Are you one of the people who is just sharing information with these investors, or are you the one who's actually making the sales and the trades for all the stocks?
In this particular circumstance, I play the role of the investor.
Okay.
I belong to this angel investor network, and then these guys come in, tell us their story, and then me and the others get to decide to invest or not. If you're thinking back to my bio, Gavin, that when I worked on Wall Street, there I did work as a sales executive. So there I was calling on different financial advisors. Actually, I covered the great state of Ohio for many years, so I spent a lot of time out there.
Yeah.
In that case, I was selling investment products, and then I became a team leader for that organization as well.
I gotta know, what was that experience like, being like a wolf on Wall Street kind of deal?
Wall Street sometimes gets a bad rap, Gavin. I can't argue with you there. Sometimes there's some cultures there that need some fixing, and honestly, that not to segue to what my book's about right off the bat here, but it's
right ahead.
It's kind of what the book is about, which is, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. We can build an engaging, empowering culture that people want to be a part of, and not sort of the stereotype with Wall Street is, if I stab you in the back, then I get the promotion because you're dead, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And I will say the firm I worked for many years really did not have that culture. I mean, certainly those people, there's always the outliers, but we had a great culture. I think that's why I stayed there for 20 something years.
Do angel investors usually ask for a large ownership of the portion of the position of the company when they come in? Or does that depend company to company, depending on how structured they are?
It really depends. Think about a seesaw, right? Like who sort of is providing more value to the thing. If you're coming in really early, maybe you're getting 25 or 50% of the company, which would be pretty unusual. More so, you're probably in the sort of 5 to 10% range with the group of investors you're with.
Yeah. So with that, now you did mention it's usually from the master's in the school from Georgetown. Is that always the case, or do you have outside companies come in? So let's say, I'm going to use an example of, there's companies coming out that are doing podcasts where Gavin and I are right now, to CBD, to exercise programs that are brand new and teaching people things, but they're starting off. How do they have to be going to Georgetown, or can they be someone that's an outsider that applies?
To this program, there has to be some affiliation. So maybe a Georgetown alumni is a primary investor in the company, or sits on their board, or is an executive in the company, something like this. But I also come across these opportunities just sort of through referrals and networks as well, friends and family, things like this. So it can come from a lot of different places. University of Maryland, which is not far. I live in the DC area. They have an angel group. I've gone to some. Actually, I invested in one of their companies. An Indian restaurant, which is trying to do, if you think of Chipotle, they're trying to do to Indian food what Chipotle did to tacos, if you will.
Gotcha.
Wow. And okay,
cool
so
idea,
now I think so too. So you basically, and this is going to be fun, you find the creativity that you believe in, and you kind of invest in that. Would you say that's along the lines of where it is?
Yeah, but it's also about the people. Are these good people? Do they seem like they're going to do what they say they're going to do? Right. Because these contracts are right. Like they can just walk away and the company goes bankrupt and whatever. So they're very illiquid investments, meaning, you invest in a mutual fund where I worked on Wall Street for forever. You can call tomorrow and get your money back. Right. It might not be exactly the value. It might not be the 50 grand you gave them. Maybe it's 49, 51, whatever. These guys, you call them and say, I want my money back tomorrow. They say, sorry. We'll let you know.
Yeah. How has apps like Robinhood, for example, these quick trading apps, how's that affected how you do business in the market?
Yeah, I wonder about those organizations, right? That had the whole GameStop thing a couple of months ago. As long as there's been investing, there's been sort of different ways to pile into different ideas, right? You might have heard the phrase pump and dump, right? This is,
Yeah.
I think, Gavin, you said it was the Wolf of Wall Street earlier, right? That's, there was another one too, Boiler Room, right? Where the company would buy a crappy stock, have 100 brokers call all these people, build the price up, then they'd sell their shares, and everyone else kind of got left high and dry. So as long as there's been stock investing, there's been some version of this out there. It's just getting easier because of technology.
So with all of that going on, how do you decide whether you really want to invest in something or not? Forget everybody else. They do the presentation and everybody else says no. What makes John, like they stand out to John?
Yeah, I have to like the story. Do I see this thing as growing significantly in the next 5-10 years? Excuse me.
Bless you.
And really the people, right? Do these people seem like they're going to do what they say they're going to do? Are they good people? Are they trying to do, like in the case of the Indian restaurant, just good people. I mean, they've done so much. Think about a restaurant during this last year, right? Everything's closed. They've just done so many things, not only to keep their business afloat, but to help the community. So they raised a ton of money and donated a bunch of money to local healthcare workers. I mean, who does that, right?
Right.
And I got signs of that when I was basically interviewing them through the, should I invest in them or not? They just seemed like really good people. And that helped me a lot. And they had a business. They already had one location open right by Nats Park here, the baseball team that was already doing quite well. So that helped also.
Are you a baseball fan?
Not really. And I also couldn't pronounce Tommy. Was it Tommy you said earlier?
Yeah. It's spelled Thome, Thome.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that one either, Gavin.
I appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Oh, that fits very well. So I laugh because if you're not a baseball fan, you're not from Cleveland, I can understand messing that up. He also donates and shows up and does charity work for one of my favorite nonprofits here in Cleveland. So it makes a big difference knowing his name here for me. With this being said, though, you do you like companies that do outreach and they focus on the community and that. When you are picking a company, does it take a long time to decide, or is it something right away?
Typically their window's pretty short. So they'll have a deadline. Hey, we're raising money by 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, something like this. So typically they don't give you, sort of a year-long runway to look at it. They need to hit a funding goal by whatever date to keep their operations running or to hit this next growth stage they're after. So it's oftentimes the deadline they're working on. So, you kind of get rushed by that.
Wow.
If you're able to, what would you say is the average amount of time it takes for the average amount of time that you have to invest in a stock before you really make a profit that you're comfortable selling at?
Well, I would answer that two ways. Public company, like a mutual fund or like Disney or stock or something like this, I think you got to look at things for at least 5 or 10 years. I've owned investments for way longer than that because they just can, they pay dividends, they pay capital gains, they compound, they grow over time. In the private space, I mean, you're basically almost locked into a 5-year deal, like these angel deals. It's almost unless they really have a lucky sort of run at the beginning and someone comes and buys them. You have this exit or liquidity event. But I mean, if you're going to invest in something that you don't, it should be money you don't need for at least 5 years, in my view. I have a funny story about that from my family I'm happy to share. But, my parents put a investment in for me when I was like 3 years old. They bought me a mutual fund, $1,000 when I was 3 years old. And I still own it today. Which is really funny. And it's take a wild guess how many times it's gone up over the last 44 years or whatever it's been, maybe 43.
I'm going to guess, $1,000. How much is it worth is my guess. Is that what you're guessing? I'm guessing.
Yes.
Is it a fixed mutual fund?
It's like a large cap value fund, sort of like an S&P 500 type deal.
Oh, wow. I'm guessing it's worth $5,000.
I want to say at least 20 grand.
Like 110.
Whoa! Really? Okay. All right. So parents, I have people that I know that are watching the show right now that have been commenting that have kids. At 3 years old, your parents took $1,000 and put it into a mutual fund. And it turned out to be your 49 according to that math, because you said 46.
I was doing math. I'm 47. Yeah.
You're 47. Okay, so 44 years of difference. Yeah. But my thing is, in 44 years, you've seen that increase over 1,000%. With that being the case, how would you recommend parents today plan for the future?
People often ask, is it a good time to invest? And my answer is, like always, right? If you need the money in the next 3, 6, 12 months to buy a house or a car or something, I wouldn't put that money in the stock market. But I think we all should have money we're sort of putting out there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I'll tell you, I was very fortunate my parents did that. And actually, I've never touched that account. So my goal is to like give it to my kids so they can see it and say, this thing's been at it for 60 years or whatever it might be at that time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I mean, $1,000, I think everyone can probably figure out a way to come up with $1,000 if, or save $50 a month for a while and get there or something like this. But yeah, I always really appreciated them doing that.
Wow. That is really cool. You and I were way off. Like, I was thinking of a bond.
I was originally thinking I was going to say $100,000, but you were so low. I was all like, I'm not I'm kind of wet behind the ears as far as all this goes. I know Brandon knows a bit more than I do, so I'll base my guess off his guess, but I know it's got to be more than that.
I went off a bond. I went off a normal bond, and for being that long a time, you're looking at it increasing 4% a year to like 6% on average. And I went with that in my head really quickly, and that's why I was like, oh, that many time. But when he said that it was one of the high-end ones, I should have switched my number right away.
Yeah.
That's called anchoring, Gavin. It's called anchoring. Someone throws a number out there, you get anchored to it, right? And then you.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
That's why I let everybody else talk first, usually. So, with that being said, though, how are you with these new cryptocurrencies? What are your thoughts on cryptocurrencies, and do you have any?
I do not own any cryptocurrency. I can tell from some of the comments here, people aren't going to like what I'm about to say, which is I'm not particularly enthusiastic about them. I mean, what can you buy with them, right? You can't walk down to the grocery store and buy like your groceries with a bunch of Bitcoin, and you can't
Actually, now you can.
Oh, really?
Yeah. As of
Out of my grocery store.
At Sheetz, Sheetz gas stations?
Yeah.
They partnered with Dogecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. And next year, starting in 2022, they're going to start accepting them.
And
then we have quite a handful of restaurants and cafes around here that also accept any kind of cryptocurrency.
Well, I don't know how you take payment in something that's so volatile. I mean, these things have crazy volatility, right? If you have $10 in your pocket, you can go buy lunch somewhere, right?
Right.
Yeah. If you have Dogecoin or Bitcoin in your pocket, it's not in your pocket, it's digital, right? But you don't know what you could buy today or tomorrow.
You don't know how fast the value is going to change on it too, because Gavin and I put money into one. We both saw a good one coming up, and somebody goes, Brandon, buy it. I told Gavin the same thing. Next thing we know, what was it? A month later, Gavin, him and I are talking about it. I'm like, how's your crypto doing? It was over $1,000, and we were both only put like $50 in. And we're like, whoa. Yeah. Then we went back like a week later, and it wasn't even worth like $150. It up and down. Yeah. And that's a hard thing for people to get used to. And that's why I loved your beginning with like, look, don't invest unless you have money that you can say, okay, it's going to go for a while, or you understand it's going to go. You don't go to the casino and bet your house if you know you can't do it. Right. So I want to talk about your book. I actually have it here in the background. I'm going to pull it up for everybody to see. Building and Leading a Team of Serial Investors. It came out in 2020. Tell us a little bit.
Innovators.
Oh, innovators. I'm sorry. Innovators. I'm so used to saying investors with you right now. What would you say how did you start this book, and how did you decide to keep building innovators?
Thank you. So as we heard earlier, I worked on Wall Street for a bunch of years. My company got sold in 2019, and I had a pretty good deal to leave. So I left and took some time off. And later that was the summer of 19. And a friend said, hey, why don't you go write a paper and put it out there on social media, LinkedIn, whatever, to kind of promote yourself, to think about your next career move. So I write this paper, share it with a friend, another fine Midwesterner guy out in Detroit, Mike Gottesman. And he said, you should make this a series. And I thought, that's a cool idea. And then I could put it out over maybe 4 weeks or something instead of, just one paper. And, took it to another friend who, you start telling people when you're working on a creative project, as you guys might have explored with launching this podcast that you have, you start telling people about it and they see your enthusiasm. They're like, oh, you should talk to this guy or that guy or, learn more or whatever. And another guy said, hey, John, I help executives get published for a living. So I talked to him. He helped me fine tune this series. And then Christmas 2019, or just before Christmas, went and met with a professor at my business school. And I said, I was hoping he could kind of connect me to maybe someone at Forbes or something like this to try to get it published in a magazine. And he goes, we met for lunch and he said, I think you have the makings of a book here. And I was like, what are you talking about? How do you write a book? And then he introduced me to this author coach, this gentleman by the name of Eric Custer. And I called Eric, and he's one of these guys that just serial entrepreneur, super high energy guy. He's like, I've got this class. It starts in a month. You should jump in. And I thought, I'll give it a try. And I spent the entire 2020 writing this book. It started in January with the papers and then published in end of last year, right before Christmas. So that's literally that's the journey. It was kind of crazy.
Wow. So you had no intentions of writing a book to begin with, though?
I mean, I've thought about it, but that's not where this whole thing started at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Because where do you even start, right? It's like such a big project. It's kind of intimidating. And what the coaching thing does is it gives you like all this structure and deadlines and accountability and guidance, which was, I don't know how I would have done it without that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your biggest challenge with writing the book?
Deciding when it's done.
Ooh,
Right.
That's a good one.
Right.
I'm reading the bio of it and how it's about the Motley Fool, Microsoft, public school principal, largest food delivery company in the world, many who have successfully optimized their organizations. And that's something a lot of businesses and people and in general have a hard time doing, is optimizing what they're doing. With this being a book about that, what would be something, I don't want to give your story, your secrets away, but how would you recommend somebody starts to optimize who they are and building that up? What would be their reason to devour your book and digest it?
Yeah. If you're a person who's leading an organization, leading a team, a company, what have you, and as a leader, you're inextricably tied to leading change, right? Like if you're operating the same way you were 5 and 10 years ago, you're probably getting close, if not already, to irrelevant in many ways. And maybe you just don't know it. And my thing is, over all my time on Wall Street, now working as a coach for a couple of years, the reason people don't like to get involved in change is they're afraid of it, right? If I try something new, right? If you guys come on tomorrow and try something totally different and say it's Gavin's idea and it totally flops, and Brandon, you could be like, well, that was stupid. Why did we do that? Gavin's, what are you doing here? You're ruining our show. And then Gavin has to feel like an idiot and shame and all this stuff, right? And or vice versa. But that would never happen. And so people are afraid to bring change because of that fear, shame, loss, uncertainty. Like, maybe I don't get a bonus. I try something new. I have to tell people I failed. And so my whole thing was, optimizer is a very specific word because it's about helping people think in this constant incremental change mindset. Mm-hmm. And the incremental change allows them to get over that sort of fear factor, if you will, and that emotional burden that comes with change, because it's small steps. So if you screw up a small step, you're like, oh, well, not a big deal. But you do this week after week, allocate a couple hours each week to finding better ways to operate, to provide a better service, to develop your product, whatever it is you sell for a living or make. 1, 3, 6 months goes by and you've actually made monumental change, but it never felt like it because it was this constant incremental change, if you will. So it helps people overcome that emotional burden. So as a leadership tool, I think it's incredibly powerful.
I love that.
Thanks.
Excuse me. Because I think that building a team is essential, and there's a lot of people who want to be leaders. And what's that old saying? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians, and stuff like that.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect example. I have your website here as well. You're a motivational speaker. You do a lot for. There we go. For people, my favorite part is, which one of these people in the innovation line is you? I have to ask.
The guy in the end, jumping in with the end, who's a little late.
Is it? That's awesome. I love that you did that because I was hoping it was you.
I'm actually totally kidding. I'm totally
kidding. In my eyes, it's you. I'm keeping you there.
Thank you.
So you have a 2-minute quiz on your website to help you find out if you've developed the level of trust required with your team to enable and empower them to drive the innovation you need. So if I take this test, do you contact me afterwards, or does it tell me right away whether I failed or passed?
It's one of these deals where if you want the output, you give me your email address, and then you'll get it, and we can connect afterwards if you'd like.
I love that. And are you a graduate? You are a graduate from Georgetown, correct?
Yeah, went to the Executive MBA program there.
Very nice, very cool. I asked because Georgetown. Did you ever meet David Robinson?
The basketball player?
Yes.
Did he go to Georgetown?
He did. He almost won you guys a championship, or he did win you a championship.
I thought David Robinson, wasn't he Naval Academy?
I thought he would. You know what? You might have me on that one. I might be mixing it up.
Patrick Ewing is a famous Georgetown guy.
You know what? I did. I mixed them up. I kept thinking David Robinson went to the. You're right. He was Naval, and Patrick Ewing is Georgetown. Good. You know what? You win that one. It shows how well I know my sports. You wrote this book, and you're developing. I saw your YouTube network. You're building up. What are some of the hurdles that people are going to go through? Because I love how you put how you're teaching people how to process consistently, draw out your team's creativity, and imagine and manage the emotional hurdles of change. That's a very big thing that a lot of people have problems with, is the emotional hurdles. How do you recommend leaders help get their team through those?
Yeah, this whole idea. I mean, it really starts with building trust. I mean, back to this idea I said a little bit earlier about, if you're a leader, you're inextricably tied to leading change. And arguably it's what people fear the most. And one thing I find fascinating is go Google, like, what do people fear? And you get like death, heights, spiders, this kind of thing. Why change isn't on that list? I don't know. I think it's because people don't think about it or are afraid to say it. I would argue change is absolutely on that list. And so that's what this whole concept is about, is finding this way to build trust, to get them to dip their toe into this change pool and get them to consistently think this way. So it's about enabling this mindset. It's about empowering this mindset, and then really sustaining it. Because if you can't sustain it, now you're a one-hit wonder and you haven't done a whole lot. But building trust is the absolute core of this whole thing. I mean, think about anyone you take advice from or guidance from. If you don't trust them, like, you're not getting anywhere, right?
Yeah. So when there's one of our big leaders on here, Bob Seymour. He drives across the United States on his motorcycle, spreading delight and positivity to people. And we do a lot with him. It's good to see he's chiming in and saying hello to you this morning.
Good morning, Bob.
I love it. With that being said, where did my note go? I was filling out the contact us form as you were saying that. Being in school, going through all of that. Are your kids in business school at all, by chance?
They're pretty young, so they're in elementary school.
Oh, you have elementary. When you said leaving it to your kids, I literally was picturing, he's got to have like middle school, high school age kids the way it came out. Did you do the same thing as your parents? Have you put anything in a bond for them? Or a stock or anything?
Yeah, I did the exact same thing for them. And so actually it was kind of fun. I sat down with them and said, what stock should we buy? And so we went through a bunch of choices and landed, unsurprisingly, on Disney, I suppose. So we put a few bucks in Disney. And then I thought, just to be a bit diversified, we also bought like a dividend ETF. So I thought I'd double it to see, that way they could have like 200 grand when they're my age, with this account, hopefully.
Yeah. I love that. Growing up in your house has to be interesting. My dad would make me earn my allowance. And like, did you get all your chores done? How's your homework and all that? What are like tips you would give to parents to help them be able to teach their kids about money, teach their kids growing up? Because I picture you having fun with that with your kids.
Yeah, I appreciate that. They both have savings accounts. They both have piggy banks. That's kind of where it started, like the old fashioned piggy banks, right? Like, hey, grandma just gave you a few bucks. Like, let's put it in here. So I take the same lesson my parents gave me, like from the time I can remember when, my grandmother would send me 10 or 20 bucks for my birthday or whatever. My mom would take me to the bank, or I had a bank account. when you used to get that little book, if you even remember that, the little deposit book from the bank. And we would go to the bank and I would deposit like $10 and keep the other $10. And then I could kind of go blow it on whatever, because I'd already saved some of it. And honestly, that simple lesson right there, which I am trying to impart on my kids, I still do to this day. There's just like, I'm making a little more than $20 now sometimes, but like it's the same idea, it's just different numbers, right? Like saving is just such an important, pay yourself first. When I'll tell you a quick story about that account that's, gone up so much. So my dad did it in what's called an UGMA account, a Uniform Gift to Minors Act. It's like a IRS code thing. So what happens is you open these accounts, and then when the kid is 21, it's legally their money. I didn't know that. And so my dad calls me one day in college. I was at University of Wisconsin, go Badgers. And he calls me up one day. My dad, he goes, literally first words out of his mouth, "Hey, what's your social security number?" I'm like, "What?" What do you want? He goes, "I'm going to transfer money to your name." So of course I quickly rattle off the social security number. I'm like a senior in college, I think, or a junior. And at the time it was maybe worth 20 grand. And I said, I asked him, "Why are you giving me this money? Like I could go do something so stupid with this right now, go buy a car, whatever, go on vacation." And he said to me, I'll never forget it. He said, having money is about, making better choices and having options in life. And I'll never forget that. And that honestly, it's part of the reason why I've never spent that money, because I was like, here's always this money I'll have that if something really crazy happens in my life, there it will be.
Wow.
Yeah, no, there definitely is something nice about that safety net. Like I've been saving money since I was probably 8 years old or so, and it ended up becoming a lot more money that I was saving just as I got older, getting an actual job, being able to put more away at a time. But now I have a couple expenses that I need to be getting, and I took out some money from the bank for one of those. And at first I was kind of anxious about it. I was anxious about taking out of my savings, but then I remembered, no, this is why I was saving the money for, was things like this. And I took that money out, and then I realized nothing happened. I was okay. I didn't like disintegrate or anything like that. And there's still plenty in there for other things that I will have to pay for eventually. But it is nice to be able to have that sort of cushion right there in case, God forbid, my car dies randomly, or I get in some sort of accident where I will need to have that money, and it's right then and there, and I'm not completely broke going into debt.
Yeah, and it allows you if that God forbid that happens, Gavin, right? Then you have choices, right? Instead of like whatever I'm stuck with, now I can make some better choices. And I'll never forget that advice, and I've tried to impart that on my kids.
Yeah.
So that's a need versus wants mentality usually, and I think there's a lot of people, this is just my personal opinion because I'm one of them, that we have a hard time judging when we want something, whether we really need it or not. Do you have a way of teaching your kids that would be a way for helping people understand the difference between a want and an actual need?
Yeah, it's funny. My kids love to play this video game. It's called Roblox, which is, I don't know if you all know this game, but it's, oh my God, if you're in the sort of that 7 to 14-year-old crowd, it's like they can't get enough of it, right? And this game is masterful at this fear of missing out thing. They constantly play these games like, oh, buy this thing by 2:00 tomorrow and upgrade your sword or whatever, all these things. Yeah. And they're constantly coming to me with these like, oh, I need $5 or this or that. And I'm like, so the first time I let him do it, and I was like, I followed up with him. I was like, so what'd you get out of that? He was like, because I asked him questions about it before we did it, and he was so pumped. And then once he actually got it, he was like, yeah, that was kind of a waste of money. And so now when he comes, like it was good for like 10 minutes. And then he was like, why was that $20 or whatever it was? And now we have a like more thoughtful conversation. They get out of hand
after a while.
Right.
God, there's a game called CSGO where they have similar how you're saying that you must buy with this certain amount of time mentality. But because of that, they have now collectible things, and they'll spend, $5-10 on that sword or whatever, but then they're able to trade it with other players. And so they'll turn around and they'll sell it for $100, $200, because it was that one-time opportunity, and it becomes a supply and demand thing.
That was the game last week. So literally the luxury brand Gucci has come into this game, and they're playing this exact game you're describing, Gavin. So you can get these glasses, for till Friday or whatever, and these shirt and skins or whatever it is. It's crazy. And what we found, to answer your question directly, Brandon, is just helping him see the value of it, right? Like most of it is just kind of a smokescreen. It'll be fun for a week or two. And maybe you're one of the lucky ones that gets to sell it for a $50 gain or whatever, but chances are you're not going to be that guy.
Right. With that being said, though, teaching them these things, especially in a market where we hear daily on the news, oh, a mom's son bought $50,000 in ice cream on Amazon and stuff like that. With that there, teaching that is an essential thing, especially because, like you said, that instant gratification. It's they came in super excited. Learning to keep that balance is tough because a lot of us have that today. Brett Gordon with Businesses Are People Too made a comment that wants become needs. 100%, because I know that there's times in life I wanted something so bad, I figured out a way I needed it. And I think that a lot of us do that. See, like, and we all have that, like that little bit. So when you were a kid and you took the $20 and you put it in the bank and you pay 10 for yourself, 10 to the bank, you were learning about the money and how to do that. With that $10 you spent on yourself, did your dad ever do to you, teaching you the benefits of it like that? Like, oh, you just bought $10 in candy. Is that worth the $500 in debt?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think more they led by example. And my parents were just super conservative. If you've ever heard of the book, The Millionaires Next Door, they never made a lot of money. They just always invested. They took 10, 20% of their money every year and bought, Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble or whatever, and held on to it for Pepsi, for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And honestly, they never made a lot of W-2 income, but they've retired very comfortably because of all that investing they did. And that was, so they kind of more led by example. So I try to do that with my kids as well. My car's 10 years old, like I don't have a $100,000 car sitting in my driveway that I just bought and this kind of thing. And when he thinks about, particularly my older boy, who's sort of more in the money thing, thinks more about it. When he asks about, hey, let's take money out of that account and buy whatever, I tell him the story of this account I have that's up 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 times. And I'm like, would you rather me give you $1,000 today or like $25,000 when you graduate from college? And he's like, 25 grand when I graduate sounds pretty good.
Right. I think that's the conversation that's been missing with a lot of parents. I have a niece. I have no kids of my own. And the other day I asked her, she's 9. And I go, what do you want? She graduated from or finished school. And I go, what do you want? Like, if you could be any age right now, go anywhere. What do you want? And she goes, I want to be 16. And I'm like, okay, why? And she's like, I want a car and I want to start driving. Okay, where would you go? Harvard. Now we're talking. We have a location, we have a reason, we have an age. And I'm like, all right, so summer's starting. What are you going to do to help you get to Harvard? You could be 16 and drive there, but why only go visit? What are you doing for yourself to be able? What are you reading this summer? And her and I went back and forth, back and forth. By the time we were done, we were talking about what scholarships look like in college. And it went from being, well, I want 16 to get out of the house to go see something, to, wait a minute, if I take this time now over summer, instead of just running and swimming and playing, and start working on myself before 4th grade, she's seeing that Harvard could be something she not only goes to, but could be paid for. And she was like, I didn't realize that. And I'm like, I feel these are conversations kids need to have at a younger age, because of the fact she saw that she wanted to get out and be an adult. We all had that till we were 16. But the minute she realized she had something that she can go towards, it totally flipped her mindset. I FaceTime with her every morning. We have coffee together. Well, I have coffee. But with that, what would you say would be a wealth of knowledge you'd want to have for your kids? Like, from an author of a book to read to a way of them bringing up over the summer, like maybe they don't get to go outside and play until they have chores done. What would be something you have for your kids? And I'm going to go back to your favorite author in a second, just so you know.
In terms of like life lessons, is that what you're kind of thinking about?
Yeah, like mine was like, I planted that seed in my niece's mind that you can have fun over the summer, but you need to be able to know that when you go back to school, you didn't just drop everything that you learned and you're having to pick it all back up. And she saw that, and her worst subjects are math and science. And she literally every day we make a game of it. Like she does horseback riding. How many steps does the horse take around this thing? If you do it running, how many less does it take? And then we're doing like subtraction and all this. And it went from being horseback riding to math with horseback riding. It's just little things to make her life see that you can do it everywhere. What are things you do with your kids? Sorry.
I get you. Sorry, I didn't get it at first, but thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I honestly play a similar game. Like I try to bring math into like whatever it is we're doing and try to help them think through how to add, sort of, 81 plus 62, kind of break up the numbers a bit to make it easier in your head, things like this. So in fact, my son, my older boy, accused me recently. He goes, you could take, I think he said, you could take the fun out of anything with your math or something like that. Because I was doing one of these games. We were doing something fun. I was like, how does that work with math or addition or whatever it was? And he accused me of taking the fun out of it with math. It was pretty funny, actually. So I try to do that all the time.
I love it though. I made her hang a dartboard. And when she throws the dart, so she's moving, whatever it hits, we add all 3 darts up. And that way it's a game and she's trying to beat Uncle B and she's learning about aim and focus. And it's just fun. Who is your favorite author right now?
That's interesting. I'm actually reading which I don't often do, a spy novel right now, it's actually sitting on my desk here. I'll share my friend's book. It's a fantastic book that just published. It's called Betrayal by Elisa Parenti. And it's about the first woman who was executed by the U.S. government for espionage.
What?
It's a pretty crazy story. Ethel Rosenberg is her name.
I want to know more about that, but it's your friend's book. So I like, I want to talk about your book. That sounds awesome though.
Was that a lead-in question to my favorite author being me? Was that what was going on there?
Yep, I was baiting you to say you. Who's your favorite author? I have to say myself. I work so hard. With writing a book, though, there's a lot that goes into it and a lot of teaching. So I ask authors and people when they come on here, I love to know who their favorite author is, what they're reading right now, because the girl right before you, Christina, she runs our book club. And we try to have a book club where people who don't like reading, we find books that are more conversational pieces. We find it where even if you don't want to read, you're too busy, we find the audiobook so you can listen as you go. And like the free version, so everybody has a way of hearing it and bringing that conversation together. So I love hearing what people are reading and all that. If you could recommend a book, what would it be for people?
This one's from probably 10 years ago, but I still think about it a lot. Daniel Pink, The Whole New Mind, subtitle, Why Right-Brainers Will Rule the World. And that's a book I often think about because if you think about like the right brain is your creative sort of brain, the left brain is more to the sort of math and charts and data and this kind of thing. And his thesis was that if you just sort of know the math stuff, which we're taught in school and, do Excel or whatever, we can run spreadsheets, like that's not going to provide a lot of value in the world today. And, you need that right brain to sort of take this information and synthesize it into something valuable. And boy, somebody recommended that book to me 10 years ago, and it's literally sitting on my bookshelf today. And I reference it from time to time because I thought it was really well done. And helps you, it's like serves as a constant reminder to have that balance. Don't sort of get stuck in one frame of thinking. How else can we look at it?
Interesting.
I can agree with that just because I believe that, anybody can learn logistics and anybody can learn that sort of left brain mentality of how to read charts, how to put in formulas, how to do that. It's more difficult for some than others, most definitely. But I feel like it's a lot easier to learn than the fact of being creative. If you're not a creative mind, it's much easier to figure out how to set up different like scales and rubrics and whatever it may be than it would be to make something out of nothing. Do some kind of painting, do some kind of music, do some kind of writing.
Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of what the book journey was about. Like the way they coach you, the program I went through anyway, is as you write the book, once you get the manuscript done, you kind of clean it up a bit. You have some editors along the way, which are fantastic. I don't know how you do it without an editor. And one of the things they coach you to do is actually release the content early to what they call beta readers. And so you're getting feedback like halfway through the project. You're sending chapters to people that are saying, hey, does this make sense? Do you get it? Does the story resonate with you? So it's almost like if you've ever heard of the lean startup methodology, it's kind of like a very much lean startup approach. Build measure, learn, as you go. And learning is like getting this feedback or advice from others, and super important part of the process. And it ties back to this left brain, right brain thing, which is you've written this book, you've done all this research, all these interviews, and now how do you sort of take it and synthesize it? So it's a super interesting journey.
Very. Like, what made you get into investing more? Like, I hear it from your childhood, growing up and all that, but like, I'm sure there's been times where you've invested in a company and you didn't get your money back and you like kicked yourself in the butt on that. How do you keep yourself from knowing a good investment to a bad? Is that just a gut feeling, or is it like you look them in the eyes and you're like poker? You're like, I know you're lying to me.
I think it to me comes back to the people, the process they do, the performance they've delivered already. Are they running and executing a good company, a successful company? Have they done it before?
Yeah.
I have had a dud or two out there, but especially in angel investing, you have to go in thinking that way, right? You're not putting half your money into one of these things, right? It's, like 1-2%, something like this in any one investment, because one, you're not getting back for at least 5 years, most likely, if not longer. And two, these are startup companies. They're new. So startup companies have a high failure rate, like 3 out of 4 fail.
Yeah.
This is the venture capital model. If you've ever, you read about these venture capital companies that make these big returns. For every Facebook that they bought, when no one ever heard of Mark Zuckerberg, they've got 25 companies that just went completely belly up. You don't hear so much about those. A few companies do that, but very few. They talk about the Facebooks and the Googles that they bought on day one,
Oh, yeah. I think it's funny. Jay Bird made a good comment about tiny houses. Tiny house teaches need because everything won't fit. I think that's a funny way of doing that. I love it, though. With that being said, I have so many questions about investing, and it has nothing to do with the stock market. It's about being someone who I see what you do, but I want to be able to understand, like, when everybody's trying to build themselves up and trying to find themselves. People get told, oh, you should do the stock market. Oh, you should do investing. But like you said, you had 25 to that 1. That's a lot of hard things for people who are like paycheck to paycheck for majority of our country. What would be advice for them to be able to start looking into things to then turn into a John and be able to invest in more companies and be an angel investor?
I mean, even when I started, like right out of college, when I moved from University of Wisconsin to New York City, like I'll never forget this. My first job was like $26,000 or $27,000. That was my first income. And relative to all my friends, that was like, I don't know, they were making 20 or something like this. This is like late 90s. And I remember thinking, I am loaded. Like I'm making $6,000 more than all my friends. And I had saved a few dollars in college, maybe $5,000 through this savings I'd done over my lifetime. And I'll never forget, I moved to New York City and man, that $5,000 went poof. I mean, just gone, like down payment, deposit, first month's rent, last month's rent, all that just gone. And in fact, my parents had to co-sign my first lease. It was kind of embarrassing. I was like, look at me, I'm an independent boy now. And they're like, Mom, can you sign my lease? and they want your tax returns too. So that was fun. That was funny. But even then, I knew enough to the lesson I always had in my life. Every time I got paid, I'd take $50 and put it into a mutual fund.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you can do that for, you can do that a million places for no fees. Charles Schwab, Fidelity, they have all these no-load products you can buy. Just pick like an S&P 500 index fund and put $50 every time you get paid into it, or 25. And as a year goes by, suddenly you're like, man, I've got like $500 in that account, and maybe take it up to $100. And guess what? It continues to grow. Like it's easy to do. It just, people never think the small stuff can add up. And, you spend $5 a day at Starbucks, right? That's $100 a month right there. Right.
Oh.
Like that's one example.
Yeah. I love that. How many subscription services are you signed up for that you don't even realize? Right. How many, like all those different things. Gavin, I'm sorry. I saw you had a question. I interrupted you.
No, you're good. So what I've been investing in since or I guess not investing, but saving money since I was little, was I have 2 separate savings accounts, and every week I try to put in $50 into each account. Would it be a smarter move to continue on doing that? Because I also do put $20 into different stocks. I have several that I put in, and I divvy it up however I see accordingly for that week. Would it be smarter to continue to put that 50 into that savings account, or start taking that $50, that $100 and putting it into like the SPF 500 and ET or AFTs, how you were talking about earlier?
I try to think about money in sort of 3 buckets, right? If I need that money in 6 or 12 months, I probably just want it in like sort of a money market or a bank account that I can just, if I need it today, it's $100. I know I can get $100, right? And then once I get sort of that bucket filled, so if something you mentioned earlier, like my car blows up or whatever, if I, sort of that emergency fund for 6 or 12 months, I would encourage people to fill that bucket first. And once that bucket's, has a number you're comfortable with, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever your number is, then start to think about these next buckets, if you will. But I also don't think it's ever a bad idea if you have $25 or $50 to put in the market that you just know you can part with. I would, I think you can do those 2 things simultaneously.
I like that bucket idea a lot. I've never thought of it that way.
I do too.
And then this angel stuff, that's sort of this, to me, this 5 to 10 year bucket. Like, all right, it's not going to be there for a while. It might not come back to me, but it can also give me a sort of a 3, 5, 10 times return.
Interesting. You said you're still in New York?
I live in the DC area now.
That's what I thought you said. When you said New York, my mind stuck there. All right, I have to ask, which one do you like better, New York or DC? That's just me being me.
Man, they're such different cities.
They are.
DC is very low, and that's like a zoning law. You can't be taller than the capital, I think, is the rule. So all the buildings, it's kind of weird, this super crowded city, but nothing's over like 10 stories high. And then, of course, New York, it's just everything's straight up. And it's that little tiny little island. And, people say you move to New York to make money and you move to DC to have power. And I kind of see that living in both cities now. And so it's a very different vibe. Right? People come here to sort of be more in control and be a part of the government and laws and all of this stuff. And people go to New York because they want to work on Wall Street and crank up their bank accounts.
As a tourist, vibe. I enjoyed DC more than I enjoyed New York City, in all honesty.
You've got this cool historical element to it, and all these museums.
Yes, that's what I loved. I loved the museums.
Yeah, all the Smithsonian's super fun. I mean, as a person raising kids here, it's crazy. Any Saturday, you can be like, which world-class museum should we go to, right? And there's like 15 of them. We've got like 15 Louvres here, and that's pretty cool.
Which one's your favorite?
We really, probably the one we've been to the most, either the Air and Space Museum, but not the one in DC. There's a really cool one people don't know about that's out in Virginia by Dulles Airport. That's way bigger, and we really like. We've been there a bunch of times. And then in the city, what the heck's it called? Natural History and Science, I think it's called. My kids are like really into that one, and it's fun. Dinosaurs and this kind of thing.
It's right by, I think I can picture where it is in New York, but not the one in DC. The one in New York I got lost in, and they got mad at me because they closed. I was young.
They call security on you?
They did. They're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I don't know. I lost my class. Like, I was walking around. They don't like you, like, sitting under a dinosaur hiding. It's like, just kidding. So, John, you have had a really good life and had a lot of good things. I love how you put that into a book. The guys, once again, The Optimizer it's on Amazon right now. I'm going to share the link for everybody. Go click it, get yourself a copy. John's YouTube network. Boom. I have that being here right now. I've already hit subscribe. John doesn't even realize I signed up to have him contact me from his website already. Do the same, guys. He brings that energy that we all talk about, that positivity, the believing in yourself mentality, but also knowing who you are. I really like how you phrase things. You taught us the bucket analogy is one that I'm not going to forget sometime soon. I'm very grateful you were able to come on and teach us today. How we end our show is a little different, actually. So I'll go first today because Gavin, I usually put on the spot, and I wanted to throw him a curveball. So I'll go first. But what we do is we end the show with giving everybody a positive affirmation, word from the show to just saying, hey, you got this today type of thing. You will go after Gavin. So me, Gavin, let's bet that backwards. Me, Gavin, you, and you'll see how it goes and how easy it is. And then we'll do our final goodbye and take off for the day. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in today. Today has been a phenomenal episode of a lot of good things about being an optimizer, about having your who you are being built the right way, and learning about investments, learning between the bucket system he spoke about, that John spoke about, is a great way of thinking. Do you want to put money in something that you're going to need in 3 to 6 months? And if it is, maybe don't put as much money in the one that's going to be the 5 to 10 year one, because you know you're going to need it. That's creating boundaries in yourself and boundaries in who you are. In today's society, we're about that quick impact and that quick money. And being able to create those boundaries and build yourself up and know where your money is going and knows you, that helps build the best you. So take today and figure out where the buckets are. And if you can invest $25 a week to $25 a month to $100, but making sure it's able to get back and build the best you.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to play on that as well. Make sure that you're paying yourself first. I hear a lot of people all the time. They always say, "Oh, I'm broke. I'm 100% broke. I have nothing that I can put away." And then I see them go to Starbucks and get a $15 coffee. Like, that's more ice cream than coffee, in all honesty. It's a dessert at that point. Maybe instead get a $10 coffee or a $5 coffee or no coffee if you can manage. But the point is you do need to pay yourself first, whether it is a little or a lot, because while present you may not enjoy the sacrifices that you have to make, future you will be very, very grateful that you made those sacrifices.
Love that. Pay yourself first. My thought would lead around the principles of from the book, and the key principles to the mindset that I talk about in the book, this optimizer mindset, are being vulnerable, being a problem solver, being customer centric, and focusing on excellence. If you're going to do something, do it well. But I think it all starts with being vulnerable. And one exercise I'd give everyone to think about, I've listened to a few of your closing sessions, and Gavin, I know you like to give people challenges. I'll offer everyone a challenge. Think about a problem you're facing in your life today, and you feel stuck on it, and you're like, gosh, where do I move forward from here? And maybe you feel a bit trapped by it because maybe you're embarrassed to go ask somebody about it. If you want to see an empowered, really powerful moment in your life, go to someone you know and say, hey, I'm really stuck on this. If you were me, what would you do about this? Because I've seen how you've held you've conducted yourself over the years, and I've been really impressed by that. And I'd love to get your feedback on this and your advice on how this idea I'm stuck on. Go try that exercise and see how it changes the relationship you have with that person and makes them feel better about themselves and helps you learn. And it's just such a win-win environment that it creates. And I'd encourage everyone to go out and do that today.
Very well said. Very well said.
I love that.
Thanks.
So I got made fun of, which is expected. We have found a small bald kid with a beard that has lost his class. Please contact security if he belongs to you. Unfortunately, that's my child. And then this one cracks me up. Brandon's next life, librarian. I don't think that happens with me, and that's mainly because everybody who's been a part of the show, watches the show, knows that I talk a lot. And yeah. I try to shut up. You agreed way too quickly there.
There's no hesitation. No hesitation.
None. And the worst part is I know he's right. And for me, I do talk a lot. So I don't see me being a librarian. I was challenged to a 24-hour silence to see if I could do it. I have to figure out the parameters of this, but I would be willing to take that challenge. Can I go? And I cannot. It does not. I'm fluent in sign language. I cannot talk in sign language. I cannot just text. It's no talking. It's focused on just being quiet, and I can be around people and nod and stuff. But that's the parameters they created. That's going to be tough for me, but I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to try. Yeah,
you may be bald, but you're no monk.
You're so right. John, once again, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you want to stick around after the show for a minute, Gavin and I and Brett, the guy who's running from the background, we'll be happy to have a quick conversation with you before you get on with your day. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Java Delight, the show where you get a little bit of Java to keep you going through your day. I saw that. I knew you were going to make that comment, Jay, of me bobbling. So This is Java to Light, giving you a shot of Java to help you get through your morning, and then the delight to keep you going through the day. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, go follow John, go give him a subscription, and purchase his book, because there's a lot of wealth there. Have a great one.